Hi, folks. Ms. Riley here. I am here to try to provide a little bit of background information on A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. You may see me referencing some notes because I'm just trying to highlight on things that would make the story interesting to you. Anyway, the story takes place in a little quaint town called Jefferson, a small southern town. And as I think we talked about in class, differences between small towns and big cities. And we talked about this in connection with a number of stories. Small towns sometimes are known to be judgmental just a little bit, but also, on the other hand, very quaint and inviting. Anyway, so William Faulkner was modeled this small town on Jefferson, which is, again, as I said, where the story takes place, on a town similar to the one he grew up in. And the story takes place mainly after the Civil War in a period known as Reconstructionism. So, of course, even though this is after slavery has been abolished, and again, as we talked about with other stories, King of the Bingo Game for one, there were many Black codes in place limiting freedoms. And you'll hear some reference to that in the story when they refer to Emily's servant, a Black man. However, that it is not the primary focus of the story. So, a couple of important, sorry about my filming abilities, a couple of important points here. There were differences between what was called the Old South, which kind of delineated different classes. So we had the aristocracy who, were very wealthy. And that's where our main character, Emily Grierson, hails from. Well, her family, the Griersons, had a sense of arrogance and superiority about them, entitlement, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the story actually takes place after Emily's death. So, out of chronological order. In a similar way, if you remember, the story lies. In that story, we have the main character, Jack, telling us about the events leading up to his upcoming marriage to his girlfriend, Katie. And so it does not follow in chronological order. He is telling us this story after the fact. So, in some ways, A Rose for Emily is a little bit like that. Okay, so we have this family, the Griersons, who were really this aristocracy, the privileged upper classes, sense of entitlement, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the story also gives some background about Emily's father, who, was very, let's say, protective of his daughter. And of course, as would be fitting to that class, would want Emily to marry a certain class of man, not someone, or someone who was worthy of her. Any case, to fast forward a little bit to details that might be important for you to note, it was rumored, or there was an old mayor in town, former mayor, who said that Emily's father had loaned the city money a long time ago, and therefore the Griersons were exempt from paying taxes. And again, we might say, aren't there some things the rich might do today that where they could get out of paying taxes? Just saying. Okay. Well, to make a long story short, after this old mayor has died, and also coincidentally, it's after Emily's father himself has kicked the bucket there. um, the town feels, you know what, this separation is not good at all, and that Emily should have to pay the taxes. And so this was like the old South, the new South, and that's kind of an underlying conflict in the story. Well, um, so you have those values that are in conflict. Um, Anyway, as I said, the story proceeds after Emily's death, and it gets a little kind of bizarre because we also hear about um, Emily's past. And of course, there's this kind of aura of mystery about her initially, too, because her father has kept her very sheltered, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I don't want to give anything away, but I am telling you, if you listen to this story, and the link will be provided on Blackboard, yes, I think you will be very interested and wonder about this, about how the town views a potential scandal with Emily and, well, a lover. It happened even back then. So that's the general kind of background. But again, just remember that, um, just remember what lost my train of thought as I often do. But just remember, similar to lies told out of order. So don't get confused with that aspect. It would be the same way if I were telling you the story of something that impacted me, but I'm looking back on that. Oh, yeah, and one other important note. The town in this story really acts as a character. So the town is really collectively, the town is a character, and so you get the judgment of the town, and that goes back to the judgment of, you know, a small town, maybe particularly a small town in the South at this time of change where there's the movement from the old South and their values to the new South and other values. So you could imagine that conflict that took place during this time. So remember that the town represents a character, and in that way, almost invites us, the readers or the listeners, as the case may be, in the position that we too are judging. So keep all that in mind. This is, I hope, I hope this has helped you to kind of entice you in terms of hearing what this story is about. I will provide a little bit of background information about William Faulkner's life and how that may have influenced the story in another short video. But for now, stay tuned. And I know you want to read this one. And my hope is that you are thoroughly enjoying these stories in this unit. Anyway, so I'm going to stop here and again look for another recording about William Faulkner's life. Thank you so much for your interest. Stay tuned.